want to say pretty much, and then what we've talked about already, pretty much same stuff.
Okay, great.
So we acknowledge that. You're gonna okay.
So yeah, we want to today talk about what's the advantages of podcasts,
How it
why,
benefits your business.
yeah, and most importantly, how does it relate to entrepreneurship, and how can they utilize it, and more importantly, why did I do this in the first place?
Right.
It's something that I didn't necessarily wanna do, but I kind of had to do.
Okay.
So we go ahead and start. All right. Yeah. I can always edit this out. You know how to edit? No, not really. Okay.
You're not gonna edit right now.
No, I know that.
You know, I'm an editor.
Like video editor?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know. So we can do whatever we want to do.
We're gonna edit it afterwards. That was the whole thing. We talked about editing it later, and like not just this one, but like for other people too, having the option to edit and use it for other purposes besides just when it's live. After it's live, they can do other things with it. So we could talk about that too. You just woke up.
You did?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
I've been up for a minute.
Okay. TLJ in-house. We'll be in trouble if this was live.
Not really. Seeing why it's not going
We'll
on.
just be like, we'll be
There we go. All right.
okay.
So, okay. Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Very well, and yourself?
Good. I'm good.
Good.
Thanks for coming. What I want to do today is give other people an idea of what is podcasting, first of all. How does it actually help with them personally and entrepreneurially? And how does marketing come into play? And more importantly, how do you make money?
Right.
Yeah, which is the most important thing.
Very important.
So I want to introduce you,
Okay.
Tish Littlejohn, and we wanted to find out who are you so
Yeah.
you can tell the
A
listeners.
little bit about me.
Please, yeah.
I am a internet marketer, so I do websites, graphic design, video editing, social media marketing, email marketing. So I'm your one-stop shop, however they say that.
One-stop shop.
It's one-stop shop for internet marketing.
Mm-hmm. And so what, if you could, what's some of the advantages of, because it's new technology,
Yes.
we know that some entrepreneurs are kind of behind the time on marketing, period, let alone going into online marketing.
Right.
Whether it's social media down to your websites and things of that nature. So can you tell us a little bit of what the advantages is, and more importantly, how do they make money on this? Because that's most of the time.
Advantages to
Doing online marketing.
online marketing.
Correct.
Okay. So for a very long time, people have been aware that marketing is basically internet marketing now. When you say marketing, you almost don't have to say internet marketing because it's pretty much the way to go. But now it's so much different things that you could do when it comes to internet marketing, like social media. There's so many different social media sites. Email marketing, which is big again and very important. And then your website, like you said, video marketing is important. So it's so many different things that you can do, but the main purpose for all those things is to drive people back to your website.
Absolutely.
And on your website is where you have like a call of action, and you know there's something you want people to do. So when people come to me, I'm always asking them, what do you want the website to do?
Okay.
because that's how I create it based on what you wanted to do. Usually they're selling something, a service, a product, or whatever that might be.
Mm-hmm.
And so all those other medias that I just discussed, the social media, the email marketing, all those other ways of marketing are driving people back to the website so that you can get people to purchase something from you.
Okay, so why should they pick you? And the reason why I'm saying this is because I'm playing devil's advocate. Same thing
That's
when
fine.
it comes to me, because so many people are in marketing, but may be the traditional collateral
Yeah.
marketing, the old way, but haven't actually went into the online marketing, which we know that is kind of implied.
Yes.
And it's implied to you because you're involved in it. But more importantly, people who not involved with it, or business owners, or even marketers, don't have that platform or that
Right,
understanding
right.
of what the advantages are. So can you tell me, well, first of all, what is the name of your company?
I'm a freelancer, so I'm
Okay.
Tisha Littlejohn.
There we go.
And I offer creative solutions, so marketing solutions. And so basically, yeah, that's the company is me, Tisha Littlejohn.
Good job.
So why they should pick me is because I've worked with a lot of people who have no idea on what to do when it comes to. Some people can barely turn a computer on, and so I'm the person who have learned to help guide that person along as far as like gathering content for their website, making sure that maybe that is user friendly if they decide they want to actually use it, do some things themselves as far as updating. I'm also a benefit to someone because I have a background in graphic design, and because of the marketing experience as well. I'm not just going to make something pretty that have all the bells and whistles. I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to make sure that when someone comes to your site, they do what you want them to do. That it's easy to navigate. That they actually all through your site, say if you're a not-for-profit, that there's no reason for them to have to look for a way to donate to you.
Right.
So there's donation buttons. There's all kind of information about donating everywhere.
Okay.
So I pretty much listen to my client and I find out what they need, and I make a point to make sure that I'm up to date on everything that's going on, so that just like with the podcasting, one of the main things why that's a benefit, I think, is because of the fact that content is really big right now when it comes to your website.
Say it again.
Content. So I've also started content writing because a lot of times my clients are small businesses or even mid-sized businesses. They don't really have the time to have enough content on the site for when someone's coming back regularly, for that person to feel like it's a reason to come back regularly. So you need a lot of content, not just one blog a month or something like that. You need to maybe think of 4, maybe even 4 a month or 4 a week.
It's funny you say that. This is one of the main reasons why I did the podcast studio, is because of the content, the farming of content, the creative side of having content, and then having it where it's video and audio, and you can actually put it on your social media. And you stay relevant. You stay relevant when it comes
True.
to your target audience, the demographic, or your potential clients as well, potential customers. So that's pretty important because, in Chicago, and everywhere, period, everything is going so fast.
Yes.
And since you may or may not be in tune with marketing and being able to go to your website and change things and stuff like that, then it's easier to upload a video
Right.
that is strategically put in place to, have a call to action kind of scenario.
Exactly. I think I got into video editing because of that reason. I realized that the internet was turning into the new TV. It's taking over, and people are used to now when they go on the internet. They don't want to read as much as they used to. That was what the internet used to be, reading.
Right.
Then the images and photos became huge, and everyone has to have tons of photos on their website. And now, and audio was big too at one point. There used to be a time when there was programs that would read a article to your visitors. But what's better is video, because you got a lot going on there, and it draws people attention and it keeps them interested in whatever it is you have to say, or whatever it is that the message you're trying to get across. It's entertaining.
Yeah. One of the challenges that I knew that I had as an entrepreneur was the ability to get my point across, my character, the fact that I was knowledgeable about my craft.
Yes.
And more importantly, people want to see how you act and how you what your character is basically. And I was, I did networking events for years, and I will continue to do it. But I think podcasting is a way of taking the individuals from who I meet in networking events or even out on the streets, have a great concept, and then say, man, that's a great concept. More people should hear about this.
Right.
So how do I take that person and what I bring to the table and actually make it real world?
Right.
That means bring them in. They sit
you can
down.
share it with way more people.
Yeah.
Share the information, share your knowledge, expose people to your level of expertise. So the people who couldn't make the networking event, they can find you online, wherever you direct them. They could get the information through the like us talking here. Instead of you telling everyone about me, you'd send them to this video.
Yeah. I mean, that is the efficiency that comes with doing this, and the effectiveness of being able to take this time, this block of hour or so, and really maximize it to the point of you got visuals, you got audio, and you got a message, and you got content that is ideal for whomever's out there, and they can access it anytime that they want to. So as the entrepreneur, he or she has the opportunity to really categorize and compartmentalize what it is that they do, put it in a format, and then afterwards, as we say, taking an hour show and chopping it up into segments where now, people, as you said in the beginning, they don't necessarily want to read. And then if they don't want to read, then they definitely don't want to necessarily see an hour show, but they can see it or come back to it if need be, or they can see the segments which helps them to maybe want to see the rest of the show.
And you can highlight in the segments what was the most interesting parts or the most informative parts. We're talking, there's times when maybe everything that we were saying wasn't that great, but there are parts that are really great. And I think that would interest someone. And if they are looking for either one of our services, then they need to see that, at least those parts that really gave some great information. And so anyone can do it. If they have if they come out and they speak like this, they can do that too. They can have their videos put the highlights, basically. That's what they're doing, showing the highlights of the video, and they can have that on their website. They can put that on their Facebook page. They can post it. They can get a YouTube channel, and now they can have these highlights on there, and they can point people to that there if they want to find out about them. They can have that on their card. Hey, you want to know who I am? Go here.
Right. No, one of the things that I have challenges with creating a podcast studio is helping people understand what the advantages are for themselves.
Yes.
One of the challenges that I've had is how to take my fear out of not knowing what to do to looking at the advantages of learning it and or putting it in some kind of format so I can utilize it later. Also, creating our own experts and stars in certain facets, in certain communities, in certain professions. I thought that this podcast is ideal for making or breaking different concepts of people when it comes to what their message is. And let's face it, in Chicago, I always thought about having the strong survive. And then strong survive meaning like you done went through some stuff. And you still came out on top. And you're forever evolving yourself and getting understanding of how to, hone in your craft and all that good stuff. So, and then the second thing is being able to utilize and take advantage of the resources and alliances that you form. So I'm going to ask you, one of the things that I know that when they're getting your resources, they're also getting your, I appreciate you inviting me to your event this past week. People love you. You know what I'm saying? You can tell how people act around you, and they don't know me, they don't know how
Right,
I know
right.
you or how, but it's a warm feeling, and it's also a plethora of different backgrounds of
Exactly,
people,
exactly.
whether it is
And that's true. Yeah, because I've been a graphic designer for over 20 years. I've been a website designer for at least 10. So, and I've done other businesses too, and I've met people. And so you market, you do a lot of networking, and you gain these relationships. And often I have people come to me and I have somebody for them,
Right.
Or I'm like, I know exactly somebody that want to buy what you're selling. I know the perfect client for you. So that's a benefit. I mean, that's one of the things about working with someone. Like when you said the strong survive, that's one thing about working with someone. Not that someone new that comes out isn't good at what they do, but you have that good, just the skills, but you also have this experience and knowledge that the person can give you. A lot of times I know my clients leave with a lot more than they thought they were going to get when they come in to sit down. They might have been looking for a website. Now they've learned maybe they should start, focusing on this area of their business, or not being all over the place, but being more focused or something. And they hadn't thought to do that because they were new and excited.
And they feel like they're not alone too.
Exactly.
Or they have somebody that they know, trust, or even love, for that matter,
Right.
to help them through the process. Entrepreneurship and any endeavor that is new to somebody is challenging.
Yes.
So we wanted to come up with ways in which to help the challenge not be such a one-man show.
Right.
But we also need each other.
Yeah.
So I think the podcast actually brings the opportunity to, like I said, market ourselves, create our stars, create our experts, create some original content, take our media back in that essence too. The media piece that I wanted to talk about, and maybe you can chime on this too, is the fact that there's not a lot of outlets in which people in general, but more importantly, entrepreneurs don't have an outlet to get their message across.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it doesn't have to be so eloquent. It's
Exactly.
if you know what you're talking about,
Right.
then there's somebody out there that needs that service. So how do you kind of cut through the chase and get that person to understand that, hey, they may need you, and utilize your social media and all of your platforms?
I mean,
and all that
that's
good
one
stuff too.
thing that the internet did in general. It gave the smaller businesses the opportunity to get exposure that they couldn't, that only businesses with lots of money and that for advertising could do.
Bring
There's
that up,
so
too,
many
then.
ways
Yeah.
that you can expose. You have to be clever about it. You have to be smart, and you have to know how to draw people to you, and you have to know where to actually go to get your message out. But you can. That was something you couldn't do before. Now you can.
Right.
And like we were talking about the video, I like the idea of the podcast, I think, because it is pretty much a way to really connect with people that might be interested in what you have to say. It doesn't always have to be, well, I'm trying to get business, I'm trying to make money. Well, of course, but it's also nice the idea that someone that needs to hear what you have to say might get the opportunity because of this. And video does it. I'm a video editor. A lot of times,
Say that again. What now? What
I'm
you
a
said now?
video editor, and a lot of times my clients are so concerned about looking perfect that we don't get to something that was said that was really great. We have to drop it on the cutting room floor,
Right.
because I said too many times, or I was rocking back and forth or something like that. But in this case, it's like you're thinking, whatever, you're seeing it, it's raw, it's live, and then later on we can make it look cute when we put it on your video, on your website, and put it on, social media.
Let's talk about what is video editing, and not as what is it is. We kind of have an idea of it, but how does it translate to commercials, advertisement, and stuff like that? And the reason why I'm saying that is because since we're not necessarily entrepreneurs or not into marketing, and marketing commercials like a glorified,
Right.
script of how to market whatever it is that
Yeah.
you have going on. So very briefly, kind of talk about the advantages of having a marketing person that has the insight of and the know-how of taking a person's thoughts, concepts, and putting them in a visual format.
Right.
Go ahead.
Well, one thing about, like I said before, having all these services that I can provide to my clients and having a good background in them is the fact that I'm not going to come to you because all I do is video editing and just insist that that's what you should do right now.
Right.
I'll, if I'm,
Process.
so there's someone and I'm thinking, the best thing for you is on the front of your video, your website, because I'm a website designer. The first thing you do is put a video out there. I'm not going to say that to everyone, but there are some people that I will say that to, and then they have no clue what am I going to put there? What's the point? I mean, what is it going to mean? And with video editing, we could take this video and make it really flashy. We can add a bunch of things to it, screens coming in and out, and we can add words across the screen and all kind of cool things, to make it really exciting and can make it concise,
And effective.
Yeah, effective. The main thing is effective. So we could take the highlights and make some real cool, quick, fun thing that that makes people want to see more, like a trailer. So there's so many things you could do. I mean, you can actually have something staged where people are acting. You can have it where the person's just sitting there talking and giving you a really intense message about what they believe, and you really feel it because they're telling you from the heart, this is something that's strong, that I feel strongly about. So it just depends on what your business is, what you're selling, and that determines what kind of video you might want to use to help promote you.
Okay.
So that's one of the things I guess is a benefit with me having a marketing background is that I don't just edit videos, but I can come up with some ideas for you as well.
Okay. Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for coming in.
Okay.
You and I talked extensively about.
Thank you for having me because I'm excited about the whole podcast thing. Anyway.
Yeah. And let's segue into what this video was for, was to actually come up with the when, what, how, why.
Right.
To do a podcast.
Yes.
And I'll tell you this, I'm a podcast head.
I was going to say.
Means for
Right.
years
Oh,
and
really?
years and
Okay.
years, I've been looking at podcasts. Shout out to 5150, Corey Holcomb, and Zoe Williams' show, and a host of other ones.
Right.
And I say that because I don't watch TV. I mean, as an entrepreneur and 16 years in the game, my schedule is
Right.
definitely not, let me go home at 5 o'clock and watch
Yeah.
this program and so on. So, and then I always wanted something that was going to be beneficial that I can use in my everyday life as opposed to not. So the podcast is generally known as just for audio. For years and years, it's just been audio. It was on the series and, these different platforms.
Right.
And, Jamie Foxx and all that good stuff, the Foxhole Show, those were basically, you knew they was in the studio someplace.
Right.
But you only heard that they're talking. And what was some of the challenges that I've seen with that is people are visual. Let's face it. If you hear something versus hearing and seeing it, then it has a different effect on you. Whether it's you're saying something in the face that you made, you can see the face, so you kind of see exactly what the person was talking about, down to the vernacular, what they doing, how they, how they interact, and the chemistry and such things like that. I actually wanted to use podcasting to market and showcase myself, entrepreneurs, and other concepts that we feel that are being not utilized, underutilized, or not being talked about, period. So today we want to talk about, like, for instance, what is a podcast and how does it work for businesses? Podcast shows help to utilize media outlets for content distribution.
Right.
So what that basically means is, what we kind of discussed it
Yeah.
and talked about it, is being efficient and smart about what it is that you want to get to from point A to point B. That means from the idea to the results that you really truly want. And I think a podcast for a business owner or anybody that has a message they want to get out to somebody, how does it work, and what live streaming, that's what I put, live streaming content through social media platforms which broaden and reached for new clients. Efficiency right now is my number one goal, is to take people, and although they couldn't come to my networking event, although they couldn't actually come to anything that I have, I know that if I have a event called a podcast that's consistent, that's the other thing. It's the consistency that comes with having a podcast, is knowing that as you go through life every single day, you meet people, you have ideas, you have concepts. Sometimes they fall through the cracks. Sometimes you write them down on paper. Sometimes you don't. But to prove what your thoughts are, what your ideas are, and more importantly, if people are wanting to hear this or be involved in it, how do you get that out? You know what I'm saying? How do you get from a concept to a reality-based project that is doing what you thought it would be doing? So if you want, did you want to add anything to that, or? And I'm tripping on this thing.
Well, I think the main thing is that for me, I'll just go with what happened when you explained it to me, when you first introduced me to the idea, and I was probably like a few other people have heard it. They were thinking of audio. I hadn't even considered video, and even being a video editor, I hadn't even considered that that's where you were going, where you were coming from with it. But I had to figure out how is that going to benefit me? I had just been thinking about, I think I said that earlier, that I was just thinking of, I need more content. I need to find ways for my clients to have more creative content. And then when you explained it, I was like, this is exactly it. Now, the way we show people, we expose people to who we are is through our website, because that's what I do. And then after that, we draw people into the website through those other medias I mentioned earlier. And that's what the podcast would do. Now, I think the main thing is having a place where people can go, a site where people could go and see whatever podcast, almost like a channel, like the TV.
Like Aire Network?
Exactly. So that's what you hadn't really brought that out earlier when you were talking about it, because when you say that, that's one of the main things is already to have an audience. That's most people's concern. I'm gonna do this. I already having a hard time like marketing myself and drawing people in. So they already know about me. But what about how I want an audience that don't know me yet? And that's what I think is really important. And that's what's gonna be a big value to other people, is having a place where there are already people going that want to see different things, and they can say, pull a subject or do a search, and there's the subject they're looking for, and there's an archive of one of the.
That was my third bullet point, is using video and audio data capturing for archiving and documenting content for current and later use, which in parentheses I put establishing proof. One of the things that by doing networking events every week for so many years, and then another friend of mine who I'll mention his name, Dwayne Hirsch, who does networking events, him and I had an extensive conversation about the pitfalls of doing what we do. Meaning we do a bunch of, just some of the challenges that we have with doing networking events on a continuous basis, whether it's a simple thing of going to Facebook, and I have over 3,000 friends. I stopped befriending people on Facebook after a while, because when it's time for me to actually, have, when you inviting people for these networking events, 3,000 people, that in itself takes 3 to 4 hours to actually to put out there. So I'm kind of loading this up with, that's a challenge for us.
Yes.
We still got to do it. And then when we do have the event, and a person say they was coming and don't come, or they said they was coming and you actually told somebody else to come and for them to meet and connect, and they don't, or you put so much time and energy and effort into it, and nobody comes, or not enough people, or the people that you thought was coming. And then here's the kicker, is after it's all said and done, that same person will come to you like, well, how was it? Who was there? I mean, how was the place? Why you laughing?
Because it's true. I used to do events as well. And
Yeah.
it happened to me all the time.
And the point being,
Right,
and then you get to the point because you're moving on to something else. You get to the
Right,
point, well, look, you
exactly.
should have came.
Especially if you have a speaker and they want to know how that went too.
Right.
So I know where you're going with this. So
And
now.
just in that case, with the speaker being there,
Right.
the speaker has the same challenge.
That's true.
Meaning, like when they come and they speak and such, and they be like, "Well, how was it?
Yes.
How many people was there? What did you say?" And they like, "Look,
You should have been
you
there.
should have been there."
Yeah.
So taking that
A lot of work.
hiccup,
A lot of work, and maybe not getting as much out of it as you feel. You can put way more energy into something like this and get way more out of it. Or way less energy into something
True,
like this
true,
and getting way more out
true,
of it.
True.
You know, that's one of the reasons I think I stopped doing the events, and I just kind of focused on people who would come to me and say, well, I had a crew of camera people and people that did all the hosting, and they were personalities, and instead of us just doing it at an event that I hosted, people wanted us to do it at their event. When we go out, we made way more money, spend less energy doing that than actually having the event and, doing all the same work. So that's why I can relate to where you're coming from. I mean, doing
Which is a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Is the fact of doing something for effectively, and other people wanted you to actually take that effectiveness and bring it to their
exactly
event. And I also want to plug that we do live streaming. And live streaming, as long as internet is provided and we have it, we can do podcasts or any kind of live shows anywhere at Fresh Aire Networking Network. So yeah, that's
there's so many people that can use this. I'm on YouTube a lot with my daughter, and there's so many people who have their own shows, and they some of them are just in their house, and some of them are in places like this. And so many people that probably could use a service like this.
Well, one of the things, and I'm glad you brought that up too, is the what of why I do podcasts is I have nothing against YouTube at all. I am a YouTuber. That's the website that I am on
Me too.
the
A lot.
most, right?
Yeah.
But when you do a podcast, it's to me a good thing to utilize the YouTube as a
Support.
introduction to whatever it is. So that means if you have an hour show and you have those snippets of 5 minutes or so, I feel that you should put it on YouTube to get them to.
I think that's smart. I think it's smart to do it like that because YouTubers, even though there's a lot of long videos on YouTube, people who are in the YouTube, visited YouTube a lot, they are used to smaller videos. They're like, if I do a video for a client, we're looking at 3 minutes. 5 is long.
Right.
2 is great.
Right.
If we
Ideal.
could do it
Right.
So that's one thing. And then even with the Facebook Live, I feel like with that, I would use that only to say, hey, everybody come here and see me. I'm about to do my podcast. We're about to have one. If I was you, I would say, I'll use them. I'll use that to draw business, and just like you talking about using the YouTube, I would do that the same way.
Well, I think the most important part of why I came up with that, or why I decided to do it in that facet, is the analytics that comes with a person coming to your website.
Oh yeah.
As opposed to YouTube.
Yes.
And you having the advantage of having the ability for eBay, Amazon, all these different places to come to you because they see which is proof. So also the opting in and opting out and the subscribing and all that stuff. Why can't you do that for your own page?
You can. I recommend people do that all the time. And when even with us with the articles that we write, when we put it out on YouTube, not YouTube, Facebook, it's a snippet of it. To get the rest, you have to come to us, because on our site, not only are you going to get that whole article, but you're also going to get this ad we have over here talking about the special we have.
Right.
So it's a benefit to have people come to your house Sometimes rather than you being at a party at a whole bunch of other people's house, if you have the party at your house, then you have a lot of control.
Absolutely.
Versus being somewhere with a bunch of mixture of a whole bunch of different people, and you may not get around everybody. So that's why I always talk about drawing people back to your site. That's the big thing, drawing them back in. So even and the only reason I was brave enough to mention the Facebook Live, even because I don't think it's competition. I think that, like you said, you want to have people come back to you. I'm saying that too, but we can use them. We can use that because the way they have it set up is like while you're speaking, people are coming, boom, boom, boom. And all I'm going to say basically is, this is a great subject I'm about to be talking about, and you should come and see me. Just click on the link right there, and it's starting in like 2 minutes.
Well, and another thing that I came up when you were saying that, which is very important, what you're saying is quality too. No, nothing against any of the Facebooks or the YouTube,
Right.
but one of the challenges that they're having is that the bandwidth that comes with.
Yes.
I mean,
all these people trying to use it. That's serious.
Yes. So, and then the quality, and what that means is, listeners, is that, for example, I have a camera that actually shoots in 4K. What does that mean? That means 1080 is HD. 4K is 4,000. So it's in a square, you have 1080 pixels inside that square. Whereas with my camera, or our camera, it actually has 4,000 pixels.
Oh, wow.
Inside of that square.
Right.
What that means is clarity.
Clarity, yes.
Now, one of the challenges that I've had and am having is, I mentioned bandwidth in the beginning. The Facebooks and the YouTube don't allow you to actually go over 720 pixels. Okay?
Yeah.
So that means that sometimes the quality is not going to necessarily be there, even though you have equipment where it can be.
Right.
Also, for our listeners and or the people who's going to do podcasts here, is this production right here is going to be utilized later for commercials.
Exactly.
So what does that mean? That means that if you have a film editor and a graphic designer and all that good stuff.
You have the footage, because this is footage you're giving the person who came here to do their podcast. They have footage, they could do a lot with it.
Yes. And the clarity is unreal. Yeah. So what does that mean? That means that, let's face it, when I say take it back our media, I'm saying that to say that our quality shouldn't have to suffer because we're new.
Yes.
Or we're
not as big.
Yeah, we're as big. And that's important.
And that means something. It really
means
do.
A lot.
And I always tell people, when you see something, you immediately make a decision on what you think about that, say, company. So if I go to the company's website and it looks like their niece did it or something, then I'm going to look at them as if they're not as serious. And I might not give them the same amount of credit as a company that has this really great looking site. The same thing with a video that's kind of blurry and, maybe they were standing there shaking the hand while they were talking on the camera. I mean, I'm going to say that's kind of interesting, but that doesn't make me want to do business with you.
I mean,
they actually do, even if it's subconscious, they pay attention to those kind of things.
And which they should.
And they judge you. They make a decision on
and
who
which
you
they
are.
should.
Yes.
Now, and I'm just saying that because this back to only the strong survives. There's no way that you think that a person's not going to pass judgment on what it is. I mean, that's what we do all day. We look at people's clothes.
If you put that little into that, then maybe you're going to put that little into what I'm getting from you. What you might be selling me.
Well said. I'm going to move to the how. How does a podcast help brand and market one's business? And I said, using technology to create original content, i.e. intellectual property, to share and create relationships with new and current clientele. So one of the challenges that, I have the engineering background and the electronics. So it was still challenging for me to start this. So I'm good with all of this. I would take chances. I would learn. And it took me, let's face it took me a year to do this.
Okay.
And it's because there's no blueprint on how to do or create a podcast or a podcast studio. So I say all that to say that I'm grateful that I've done it. Why am I grateful? Because I feel that eventually, for an entrepreneur, they're going to have to come up with a way of how to market themselves using technology.
Yes.
Because the money might be there, the know-how might not be there, but it's the most effective way in which you can reach the masses.
Right.
So, like I said, technology is important, and I'm not going to be biased or gender specific, but some people have challenges with using computers, let alone using computers and then understanding the software, and then
a lot of people have challenges. A lot of people, and I'm not going to tell my age, but a lot of people my age.
I see you.
A lot of people my age, a majority of the people my age are almost clueless. I mean, they know the bare minimum.
Mm-hmm.
And so we definitely, it's good to have people who do know what they're doing. They can help you, you know. And a lot of people are trying to, companies, I do with a lot of companies that they've laid down a great foundation. They're ready to go to the next level. Mm-hmm. And they actually need something, to put them there, to make them stand out from others. So that's what I'm always looking for. Like I said, when you approached me about this, that's exactly where I was at. I was thinking about a few people, different companies that's exactly what they're trying to do, figure out a way to make themselves stand out, to get their, and this is it, to get their message out.
Well, I would like to, at this point too, Coca-Cola doesn't know how many people on the South Side is drinking their products.
You say what?
They don't know.
They don't know. Okay.
Not specifically. They may know how many units that went out in a certain zip code, and this is somebody that is really into the analytics to get it. Here's my point. So many people that's in these big cities are really important for the big and small companies, but it's a disconnect in who's actually using the product and whoever's creating the product knowing what's actually going on. Okay? What that means is we talk about all kinds of stuff from the cell phones we use and all that good stuff, but it's a disconnect from the big and the small companies knowing who their target audience is, if they're reaching them, and more importantly, how to upsell them.
That's true.
Okay?
Very true.
How to get the hardcore data of how many women were actually buying Coke, or how many kids were. Do they think it's expensive? What zip code in a certain geographical area is it spiking as opposed to not? All those different facets. So just take that concept and let's make it where it's an entrepreneur like yourself. That's a Coca-Cola on a smaller scale. You want to be able to track, more importantly, who your listeners are, what are their concerns, which leads me to a podcast actually has the ability to have a chat room. Yeah. Or some forum, kind of
maybe a forum.
Yeah.
Message board.
Yeah, it's a chat room, just in case people don't know, is actually a.
Do you mean so when you say chat room, you're referring to them at that moment going back and forth, like whoever's listening to the podcast?
Yeah, it's two different ways in which you can do it. You can chime in with the listener, or you can have it where they're commenting and you're saying that, oh, such and such asked a great question, and
that's
that
pretty
kind of
cool.
thing.
I've seen them do that.
Well,
before.
that's what we do. Yeah, that's what we do. Your Twitter feed. Sometimes they do it through Twitter feeds, and the whole point is to have the interaction between you and whoever the potential listeners could be, and the listener feels like they're important.
Wow, that's a
good, or they're here. They're being considered, and whatever, or they're getting a question answered, which is very important.
They can have the question answered right then.
Yeah.
Right then and there.
Which may be a question that
someone else is thinking the same thing. So it's good that you pointed that out. I hadn't thought about that. I've seen that before in seminars, online seminars that I've done. But I didn't know that you all had that capability. So that's great.
Yeah, you can Skype a person in, and they can be on this. We got some good stuff going on here. Podcasts help to create a platform to showcase ideas and concepts, which helps with sharing a storyline of your brand and marketing objectives. Okay, So the third one was podcast allows our clients an opportunity to utilize the internet as a vehicle to advertise and collect analytics data to better service their intended market. So we touched on a bunch of that stuff, and I'm all about using technology, finding out what works and what doesn't work, and creating a legacy for our younger generation. Okay. And having a platform so we can hear our younger generations. They have a voice.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter how small, how young. If you put them in front and give them some kind of parameters or concepts of what it is, and they enjoy it, let's hear what they. Because we have this disconnect on. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what 25-year-olds are thinking about right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Unless I have a daughter, and then even if I have a daughter or a son, I still don't know. We have a reference
Especially
point.
if they were sitting here talking, we would hear probably a lot different than what we are usually exposed to.
Especially if they have a target audience out there that they've already let know that they're going to be talking about this.
Yeah, and this is they could be talking about pretty much anything. Mm-hmm. Their friends are probably listening because this was ingrained in them. This is something they grew up in. The internet is part of their life from the beginning, pretty much. So. I can see that. I can definitely see that. But that would be awesome to be able to see what they would, just going back to that, to be able to see what they were thinking. Or just to know what's important to them, you know, especially, just hearing some of them talk about politics sometimes is really amazing. Mm-hmm. Where they're coming from and the people that they think they want to stand behind and why. So
and that's one of the points of creating a platform that is, quote unquote, called a podcast that uses video and audio. Yeah. And I'm not biased to any age group, gender.
I hope not.
background. It is.
Right.
Let these people tell their story. Let them have some kind of they mattering in the world. Exactly. They have a voice, something to say. Exactly. That's important because, right now, when we was growing up, children should be seen and not heard. Exactly. That used to be the mantra that we grew up on, and I think that's a kind of like a hiccup that's kind of plagued us of why we don't necessarily use media outlets as a platform to get our message out. So maybe subconsciously.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. That was kind of pushed on us. Right. That was just our generation.
Yeah.
Or even the people a little bit before us.
Yeah.
Children should be it's not quite like that anymore, but.
No.
Yeah.
So, which kind of graduates to, if you don't feel like you have anything to say, then 9 times out of 10, public speaking is like the second most fearful thing.
What's the first? Because I thought it was the first. Oh, well, there you go. Isn't that something? Because it's very close.
Death is the first one, and second one is public speaking.
Yeah.
Speaking in front of an audience.
I'm not very comfortable speaking in front of an audience, even though most people, they're shocked when I say that I'm not. And it's funny that in doing this is the first time I've done this is way more comfortable, and I can imagine way easier because I have been in situations where we had the whole everything set up, right? And it's very supposed to be perfect, and it was really nerve-wracking. Mm-hmm. And this is way more comfortable. I think people would probably
I felt that when you came in today.
Oh, that I did. It was super obvious. I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually doing this.
Going to the bathroom 2 times and stuff. I'm like, I get it together.
Telling on me. But it's true. I think that people, if you tell them the first thing, they're like, oh my goodness, I have to actually stand up. I have to talk and say things.
This is why I wanted to do this. Yes. It's because you are a prime example of having all of those thoughts. Now, after you do it, and as you're doing it, you're like, oh, wait. Because when you add comfort, meaning the persons who are around you, a subject matter that's true or interesting in your world, then it's like forget about whoever's looking. It's like, let me tell my story. Exactly. Let me tell, especially if you connect a business and making money and put that message out there, you like.
If it's something that's interesting to you or that you're invested in, you have a lot to say.
Yeah. So when was the next thing? When is a good time to create or take advantage of a podcast show? All right, I said any time is good, and then I thought about that as I was typing it. It is. It's any time is good to start a podcast show when you have a good idea and an established audience or potential audience that potentially wants your information to be shared. Okay. Then I went on to say when a company or business owner wants to establish a client base or followers with the intention of sharing products and services, right? And that's important. I say that when I thought of win, I thought about when I decided to become an entrepreneur, right? And the first thoughts that came with thinking about being an entrepreneur is how I'm going to get clients.
Right, exactly.
How I'm going to do that? Who's going to want my services? How can I upsell them? How can I actually take clients and make them repeat clients? How can I get referrals? How can I actually introduce something that has nothing to do with my business to this audience that I know may or may not need it, but let's give them an option to do it. So podcast shows on Fresh Aire Network actually gives a person I gotta learn. Drop dabs. Anyway, how do we get people that are I keep saying entrepreneurs. I don't want to offend anybody or self-employed anybody that has a message.
Yeah.
How do you get them to understand that once you have somebody's ear or trust that it's easier for you to share other things with them, share other people, share other ideas, and more importantly, create a relationship with him or her so they can follow you and you can follow them.
Right, exactly.
That's important because I think socially we have challenges nowadays in making new friends, keeping the old friends that we have, meaning maintaining relationships. And the third thing is being consistent with it. You know how you got friends.
Yeah, exactly.
You got those one friends that's your true blue friends that doesn't matter how long y'all been apart. When y'all get together, it's just like, you know what I'm saying?
No time passed.
Okay, right. But everybody doesn't have that gift.
Right.
And then most of the time it's few and far between how many friends you have like that.
Right.
And then if you are asking somebody to actually patronize your business, that's a whole nother ball game in which you have to build trust in the relationship.
Oh, yeah, it's true. I mean, you definitely have to establish yourself as an expert in your area. You know, when you said that about when, I was thinking one of my clients said, well, we have a couple people, just 2 people assigned to our newsletter. So we probably need to wait till we have at least 20 or something. And I'm thinking, well, 2 people want to hear what you have to say. So send it out to the 2 people. Get started. You know, and then those 2 people might pass something on to somebody else that this was a great message in this newsletter. And then now they forwarded it to other people. And then next month you might have 5 more people. Now you have 7 people plus maybe whoever else was added on to send it to. So you start when you have somebody listening.
Excellent point. The win sometimes is overshadowed with how. Like, how am I going to do this? And then the win becomes so far gone and removed that it starts to fall to the wayside. So I did want to talk about that. One of the other things is that when new or seasoned entrepreneur wants to create a platform using technology to market business concept while building a new current market base. So many times I've been in the game 16 years, meaning self-employed. I feel like I'm seasoned. But when I have new ideas or new concepts within my old business comes about, how do I take that new concept and implement it in my old business
I see what you're saying.
to create and to feed my old people or my current clientele and to attract new people. And that all came up with sometimes when you've been in the game for so long, you feel like you don't have to market anymore. Or the word of mouth is just so big where you kind of sit on your loins about what you done. And that, I think, is sometimes your worst it's the worst way to look at marketing, is just kind of living off other people, or your old, or you've been in the game so long where, word of mouth is being, and I understand that. I understand it. I empathize with it. But at the same time, it doesn't revitalize new or old entrepreneurs.
Right.
That means that you get a new client. It's fun to get a new client and be like, well, hey, how did you hear about me?
Right.
And it be connected to something that you did differently that you never did before in your 16 years of marketing. And you're like, wow, it gives an idea of.
Yeah, I think you would have to find a way. You have to find a way. Some people probably more so than others to find it to keep things exciting, keep you energized and into it. I get that. With the having people, referrals and people returning, and things like that. And once you're there, you're kind of like, for me, I want to grow. And maybe some people are comfortable, and maybe they don't know how to grow, because when you grow, that means it's not just you; it's other people too. It's a business.
Right.
That's how you become a business. That's when you're not just a person out there working for others on your own, the way you want to do it. Now you're a person that's working for others, making money. You have other employees, but that's not going to happen if you don't keep marketing and trying to grow and figuring out how to do it.
I think it's the difference between making a choice of being local versus being global.
Yeah.
The mom and pa's shops stay mom and pa's because
some of them never wanted to stop being, but then some of them ventured out and became these huge companies that we know today.
True.
So it's everyone's different, but regardless, your point's great, because I always thought maybe people don't want to move forward, but then you need to keep it interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That would be cool if someone came and said, you know what, I found you through this podcast. Like, wow, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about that when we first meet.
that point, and you save so much time and energy
they
of
already
building.
know a lot about me. I don't even have to explain everything now, because they heard it all. Well, a lot of it.
Right, but now you just be specific to whatever it is today.
Now we can move on. Now I don't have to sit and take as much time in building trust.
Right.
And
exactly.
them knowing that I'm actually the person they probably should go for. Give me a chance. So, I'm a fan already. I'm ready.
Good.
I'm a fan.
You hear that? You hear that?
Definitely more after this time together than I was before. I already was interested, but this is awesome.
Okay, so we just did the win, right? Why? Which one
We did the win.
Okay.
Right now, whenever.
All right. So
Anytime.
the next thing is, why is starting or being a part of, and that's the thing too, is I'm not pushing a person to actually do your own podcast. I'm saying that be on these platforms to get your information out. Right. The more times, this is the same reason why you see on TV when a person is in a movie and they do the Tonight Show and all these different platforms. They doing the platforms because it's different backgrounds, different demographic, different clientele that those particular markets are actually sustaining.
Right.
So how do you actually strategically say, okay, I want to go on that show, because ideally for my business, I want to deal with women age 45 to 65 that is in the urban area. So how do you get on platforms that are marketing to those particular people? And 9 times out of 10 is not a lot.
Right.
Or you're shooting yourself, in the foot because you didn't do it. So why is, like I said, starting or being a part of podcasts advantageous for your business? I said podcast gives you the media outlet via audio and video to establish stronger relationships with your desired audience with the intentions of bringing value and solutions using technology and other social platforms to further your cause. I almost sound like I know what I'm talking about. Well, I'll tell you. No, I'm tripping on this because this comes from what I know I needed, and nobody else was going to do it for me.
Exactly.
No matter how I was waiting to go to that networking event to meet that one person that could I got to the point like, dude, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen the way you want it to happen, and in the time frame in which you want it to happen. So you need to do something, homie. So anyway, that's another thing. So the next thing is podcasts, which is very important. Assist entrepreneurs and people who have a calling to talk about anything. It helps them in saving precious time and money by developing a platform to share your ideas while capturing the content for later use while using it to illustrate your journal. So when I was thinking about that, I was thinking about how most times when you start something new, 9 times out of 10, you don't have a support system, or you don't necessarily have a go-to person to actually tell you, okay, this is going to happen.
Right.
And it's going to happen
So
like
true.
this. And when it happens, here's how you address it. So that's the scary part, too, is that it's a lonely game.
Yes.
So how do you take understanding that you need to get your content out there, but at the same time save you money, save you time, and then create a blueprint, i.e. a bio or a documentary on how you got from point A to point B. No matter how small or insignificant you
Yes.
think that step was, sometimes it's harder to recollect your thoughts or even regurgitate what you were thinking at that moment in time. But also, how do you take the concept and duplicate it?
Right.
That's what I'm on. Is
Right.
after you know, kind of fine tune it. You're gonna fall. You're gonna,
Right.
trip. You're gonna get some things, that didn't come out the way it is. But you can take that in video and audio format, really comb through it, and then create something that can be a lifesaver for somebody behind you
Right.
to tell the story of how you did it. Okay, which means that I believe that now it goes back to the archiving certain videos on how to,
Right.
how to. And when you see that person now,
Then you're like, oh, I need to really pay attention.
right, how did they get
Is
there?
it- Yeah. From there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was important to bring up, I believe. Podcasts create a platform for the opportunity to establish our own stars and experts on a local and or national level by using media platform as well as advertising opportunities, both local and nationwide and worldwide, businesses to get the message out to potential customers. I know, let's face it, in Chicago, it is pretty cliquish.
I can agree to that.
Okay, right. And
Yes.
inside that clique, you may be missing out on some things based off of what neighborhood you lived in, what culture
Right.
what your background is, and all that good stuff. And it makes us unique in one aspect.
Yes.
The uniqueness is that we all have an idea that's similar. Like when you meet somebody in Chicago, you always ask them, "Hey, how you doing? What? I know I'm gonna say the first one, and then I want you to say the second one. What side of town did you grow up on?"
What high school did you go to? Yeah.
That's a Chicago
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Maybe other places, but I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
for
it's
sure.
huge, yeah.
And then they're basically asking you to get, of course, an
They're
idea.
trying to figure out who you are.
And the judge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What background and all that
Right.
good stuff too, which I'm not tripping on. But the point is that that's a local way of being. But it's also a national or worldwide way of being. And if you're not privy to it, I say that because I was in the Army. So when I left to go to the Army and I was in different countries and talking to people that grew up in Lubbock, Texas, my boy Truscott, I'm like, dang, that's how y'all get down? But it helped me to be more open to other people's way of doing things,
right.
and then have a reference point on how we are in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like, we like this, but other people may not be like that. Is our way the best? Does it work in Chicago? Does it work anywhere? And the point I'm making here is that once you have more of an idea of how to be a chameleon, then inside of a podcast, you can say certain sayings and vernaculars and whatever to give an idea to whoever your listeners is that, oh, they like me.
Yeah.
Or they know what I've been through. They can appeal. They can, all that good
relate.
stuff. They can relate.
Yeah.
They can relate. So I thought that was pretty important. All right. Ware. The Ware. Where is...
I wonder where. I have no idea where.
Where is podcast shows produced and live streamed to the public for viewing? I have an idea.
Oh, I bet
have
you
an
do.
idea. Yes. Fresh Aire Network Studios. I wanted to put that in there because as I was building this and doing research and asking people both who I thought knew and who didn't know what their thoughts of a podcast. And I really found out how most people they heard of the word. They definitely heard of the word. They also may have thought of it to the extent of just being audio.
Right.
Or they didn't think about how podcasts could actually help with advertisement and commercials and getting the actual message across. So then I started to say, well, let me Google and see how many podcasts in Chicago. And as you can probably know, and I urge the listeners to actually think about how many podcasts, after y'all have heard, of course, all of this great information that we've shared.
You would think a lot.
We would think that
A decent amount.
Right. And decent amount in a big city like this is still in the hundreds or maybe thousands. And unfortunately, that's not the case. And I say that to the point of they may have platforms in which they talk, but it may just be audio.
Right.
Or it may just be at their house, in their confines of their own home. Or it's none that I know of. I ain't going to say none because I was on intellectualradio.com, which I'm grateful and shout out to him for thinking of that and actually bringing me to this point, really.
Okay.
The challenge that I had with those kind of, let's say, intellectual radio is that it was in Broadview.
Okay.
Okay? And we did a show every week. So you had that commuting going back and forth. Great person, great ideas, but how come it can't be in my neighborhood? Why do I have to go all the way out there?
Right.
Which kind of, as time goes on, you kind of like, man, every week? And then it started to be like, do I really want to go all the way out there? So I'm not saying that it wasn't worth it. What I'm saying is that something that's so pivotal as having a media outlet to get anybody's message out to a certain audience.
Should be in more locations.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I says Fresh Aire Network is a studio created specifically for entrepreneurs and others that have ideas to tell their story using video and audio recordings to be streamed through our other social media platforms such as Facebook Live, YouTube, and business websites and blogs. Fresh Aire Network has the ability to record in or outside of the studio. This is my plug, right?
Right.
No, it's important though, because I'm not gonna lie. When I built this, I only thought about we gonna do it in here.
Right.
And I did have the understanding that this room that we're in is not gonna be big enough, so you guys can't see it. But the walls are built on wheels, so that we can take the wheels, or take the walls and
move them.
Which means that we can have a live audience. Which means that's crowd participation, interaction, all that good stuff, and it's
the whole time it'll still be live, which
all
is
live.
pretty cool.
It's
Yeah,
all live, right?
Yes.
So, So let me read that one more time. Fresh Aire Network has the ability to record in or outside of the studio production, which means our clients are not limited to only being in the studio or not taking advantage of outside events. So we are located, Fresh Aire Network Studios is located in the heart of Bronzeville, which is the Martin Luther King Center, located on 4622 King Drive, Suite 208. And I'm so grateful that I have the studio here.
Yes.
In this area, in this neighborhood, where I believe the energy, and Martin Luther King used to live a couple of blocks down. 47th Street used to be the mecca for music and blues and jazz and all that good stuff. And it is. It's we need to put Bronzeville as what it is. It's a groundbreaking environment, neighborhood that has changed the lives of many. Yeah.
It's a good location, though, even if you don't live in this neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
You live 80th by Stony Island. It's still close enough for you to get here.
True.
You know, if you live on even downtown South Loop, you know, it's a central kind of location.
You got the Green Line right there.
There you go.
You got King Drive
There you
Street.
go. Well, I'm glad it's close because, you know, not all my clients live in this around this area, but a lot of them do. And I want to use it. I think that what we could do, it would be good for the content that I was looking for, the extra content for their websites, for my website. We're going to create some really cool videos from it after they've been live, which I love the idea of being live. But as an editor, I still want to make these real fun videos with intros and outros.
Yeah.
And even we could plug some little commercials in there at the end if we want to. We can have a lot of fun with it. But this is a way for them to do it right away instead of us having to have this studio set up and all this extra stuff done. We could just come out and they can get the message out. And
it gives them a whole bunch of pressure when they thinking about it because they're not actors, so it keeps them actually from doing it and being all in as opposed to this is fun.
So now they'll do it. It'll be easier. It won't be so much resistance. Because most time they're like, well, can we use someone else to do the talking and I'll just give them my
I get that all the time.
So now maybe they'll be more open to sitting and talking because this is the best way to get your message across and to say what you have to say is by you saying it yourself.
We are showcasing you.
Right.
That's the point. My job is always to create the space. Once we create the space, we come up with an idea on how to strategically get your information in a format to whomever the intended audience is. Right. Have some archives to look at later on to tweak, to make new, to comprise or whatever, to tell a better story in a commercial setting and or snippet, skit, whatever.
Right.
So now all of that content did not go to waste.
Yeah. It can be used for a lot.
Yes.
Awesome.
So, in this space too, not necessarily in the studio, but I'll be remiss not to mention that we do have a hall downstairs that holds 400 people with a stage.
Yeah.
So I say all that to say that I believe that this was and still will continue to be sort of like the proving ground of what works and what needs to be tweaked. So once we find out, like, man, in the chat room or on our website, we said that we was going to do a live showing for the audience, and we got 500 people that want to join or want to be a part of. Well, now we don't have to say, okay, let's rent some other spot or get some other place. Let's go downstairs.
Right.
Let's set it up. Let's have it where we still doing the same thing, but on a bigger scale. But now we have crowd participation.
Right.
We have something where I love Corey Holcomb. I ain't gonna lie, that's my boy. Corey Holcomb, he has a show called The 5150 Show.
Right.
And I say that because here's a guy that most people may or may not remember, but he's from Chicago. That's one thing. But he's gradually created clothing lines. He put other people on that he has that's come, and he's real protective of his podcast. And shout out to Zoe Williams, too, who has his own show on TRadioV.com. Go check him out, Zoe Williams Show, where these are individuals that inspire me because they felt that they had something to say. And they knew that nobody could say it the way they did, but they also are putting so many other people on. And they're talking about subject matters that nobody else is going to talk about. And they're not scared. Another thing about Fresh Aire Network is that we control this. Control it means content, how we say it, what we say,
Right.
who we're saying it to, and why we're saying it. And I think that's very important because now we have a voice. We have a media platform that's created to put our voices out there, which
That
of
is
course
very important.
created our stars and our experts and our
Right.
chosen professions. And then you have on our website our archives where you can go and see.
Exactly.
Like I wanna get a lawyer because I want to
Yeah.
start my business.
Yeah.
Well, okay,
Do
let me
a
see what's up with
search,
this dude or this
yeah.
young lady.
I like that too because having an archive. If maybe if I see your show and you have something that interests me, I want to see what else you have to say, so I can go check out. Maybe I can search by your name and find out what else you've been on.
Right.
Other shows that you've done. So that's why I love the concept of the site, where not just you here producing the shows, but you have a place for people to see them and other people to see them, to get to, that might never have seen it.
Yeah.
Maybe never get to see me or whoever else.
And one other thing that I didn't think about, but I'm going to mention it, which you kind of inspired, is understanding that entrepreneur or not, we have the ability to capitalize off of the social media outlets that you already have.
Exactly.
What does that mean? I'm a part of Twitter. I'm a part of
Right.
Facebook. I'm a part of YouTube. I've gotten all these things. Some I use more frequently than others.
Right.
But I'm saying that to the point of when we have the ability here at Fresh Aire Network, that when you do any kind of live streaming, the live streaming can also be live streamed on your website simultaneously, on your Facebook page, on your business page on Facebook,
Okay.
or any of the bamboos. There's tons of other social medias outlets out there. And why am I saying this? Because now your WordPress, your any of those different platforms, your blogs and all that good stuff. What I'm getting at is that you're not having to, after you do a show, having to go and populate that information on those things
Yeah.
afterwards or during, because most of the time
It's time consuming.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, it's time consuming.
There
So
we go.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once again, do you have anything to add? I want to thank you once again.
Thank you for having me. I'm just gonna say it. I'm all for it. I'm excited about, using this content, having more content, more interesting content to be able to offer to my clients. I'll be sending them here. We'll stream it. We'll edit the videos. We'll have a good time like that. And I'm excited for you. I've known you a while, and I'm glad you're doing something else you're passionate about.
Well, thank you, ma'am, dear. And once again, I'm gonna put up some of our information about the podcast and some of the specifics as far as the live streaming aspect, the fact that we can we have 80,000 people in my database alone as far as
That's something you should have definitely mentioned earlier.
my fault. Right. Well, I had that up.
Okay.
So hopefully they read
Okay.
it. But if they didn't, it's just really taking advantage of the people who I've forged relationships before. But 9 times out of 10, I may or may not kept in touch with them.
Right.
Or, let's face it, when you entrepreneur, we get cards all day long. At least I do. And
Yeah.
I even came up with a concept of what I do with my cards. I came up with a A for alliance, a C for
I had something like that.
customers,
Yeah.
and then I put the date on that anyway. What's the whole
Yeah.
nother ball game? The point being is that I am super glad that we did this, and I am also going to say thank you once again. Let me get that together. I can't see this right now. So, once again, Tish Littlejohn, and she is branding herself and all of the different things that she has going on in the realm of marketing and getting the information across. So, appreciate
Thank you.
And until next time, we are thankful that you guys listened to us, and hopefully we gave you some ideas to help your business. And give us a call or give me a shout out as far as if you wanted to do a podcast yourself. And like I said, one of the main reasons that I had Miss Littlejohn come on is that this is not a one-man band, meaning I know what production comes. You have to have people like yourself, and more importantly, a person like yourself who has layers, whether it's the graphics to the fact that you can have the storytelling, meaning the verbiage, down to what the commercial could look like, or even the advertisement. So it's important that we understand that this is something that once you get a team together, and we're going to have multiple teams to go out and get information and bring it back, whether it's news, whether we have journalists going out to get certain stories about certain things that's happening in our neighborhoods or in our communities, and not necessarily leaving it up to somebody else to tell our own narrative. So I thought it was important that we had this conversation, bring some kind of understanding to what podcast is, and more importantly, how to help you guys. So thank you, and I believe that is it.
It's a wrap. All righty. That was fun.